Hello, welcome to Bette's Business Book Club. This month we read Daniel H. Pink's To Sell is Human. The Surprising Truth About Moving Others. I did find stuff to flag, so that was kind of cool.
Me too.
My favorite thing to flag in here was where he listed books of other books to read. I was like, oh, that's helpful. I'm gonna say I didn't really find anything all that new in here. I mean, in fact, he quotes he cites books that we have covered before. He talks about influence. He talks about good to great. I don't even remember which other ones. And I was like, yeah, that's why some of this stuff sounds kind of familiar.
It's a good summary of all the other books.
Yeah, it kind of was. I was like, well, if you didn't want to bother reading all those other ones, I don't know. I don't love this writing style. It's a lot of like examples and like long explanations. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't know. He kind of lost me with this like ed med thing. You know what I'm talking about, where he's like talking about people who are in education and medicine and how they kind of have to like sell people. Like teachers have to get their students to do stuff and doctors have to get their patients to do stuff. And I'm like, I get it. I get what you're going for, but I don't know.
Yeah, that we're all selling something all the time.
True. It's true.
It's true. But it's not in the typical sense. What?
Oh, I was going to say, like, I think this just was a bad business book because, one, it was completely derivative of things that anyone who reads business books has read.
Right.
You know, like you haven't picked up his book and, oh, I've never heard of Good to Great. Like, Good to Great's a bestseller. This is not, right? Like, he's coding the class.
This was very well rated on Goodreads, on Amazon.
#1 New York Times business bestseller.
Right.
But I think it was so distilled down of all those other things that it was like, this is good if you've never read anything else about business.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's a good place to start. So maybe that's why it's so popular. I don't know.
And those things are also relatively easy to game. Things come out from major publishers, they end up there. Amazon's really pretty hackable with, you know, initial reviews. We'll get it to the top of the algorithm. I've gotten things to a top bestseller list on Amazon. You drop your price to a penny, you run it out on Kit. I'm not going to go into all the tricks, but
all your tricks, Alex.
No, I mean, basically because it's just a raw quantity of number of books sold. So if you sell the Kindle version for a penny,
right,
and go and get a whole bunch of sales early on, you become an Amazon bestseller. So that's not to say this wasn't, and I'm sure there were people who got something out of this. I did not. I stopped reading pretty early on. And so, okay, his point that everyone's selling is the redefined persuasion as selling versus, which is in some ways it's kind of neat, right? It's the exact opposite of what influence does, where influence is like, sure, more or less, there's all these sales techniques that work because this is how you persuade people. And we all know how to persuade people. And that's where you see why you see influence read as a business book, right? It's not a business book inherently.
Right.
It's a psychology book that we read in business because we're selling.
Right.
So I like that it's the contrapositive of it, but yeah, I felt super derivative. And yeah, that was the example where I'm like, this is boring. Because it's true. Educators have to persuade people to learn from them. Doctors have to persuade people to follow their advice. So yes, we're all persuading, yet, I mean, I guess, what was the point, right? Those that aren't in sales should learn sales techniques to persuade people. Like, I didn't get where the book was going.
I think he was trying to just have you understand that in all of your communications with people, if you're trying to get something, no matter what that something is, like get your kid to clean their room, get your patient to take their medicine, get the customer to buy your used car. Doesn't matter what it is, you need to apply the same theories and techniques and whatnot. So I just don't find that such a like an original, compelling idea. But maybe I've read so many of these things that's why I'm like, well, of course. Alex, you're muted.
Muted.
Sorry, not trying to pivot. And maybe that's just it. Had I not read business influence in business school, I might have found this insightful. But as a result, it was kind of, like I'm more interested in reading the new revised edition of Influence than it was to get stuff out of this book.
I did think there were a couple of neat things in here. I don't remember where it is, but he talks about how everyone thinks extroverts are just inherently better at sales. And he's like, there's literally nothing to back that up. And, in some ways being introverted is better because it gives you like a different approach because you're a little quieter, you listen a little bit more. And then when they found it was like everybody who's the best was in the middle. You're like not so introverted that you're a recluse. You're not so extroverted that you just like run over everyone and plow them down with your talking. So I was like, okay, that's me.
Right. I mean, there's a cultural trend to treat introverts as just broken extroverts. It's a Hollywood trope to a point, and it's not. Like,
yeah.
It's not you can't interact with people. It's you don't enjoy it. So I don't think it's you're better at sales because you're an extrovert, but you are far more likely to go into sales as an extrovert.
I don't think it's even that. I think when you're introverted, like I'm an introvert. If you ask me, do you want to stay home or do you want to go out? I will say I want to stay home. If I'm going out to like a networking or social thing, I have to get myself like pumped up to do it. I'll be successful at whatever it is I'm trying to do that night, have fun, meet 10 new business people, whatever it is. At the end, I am exhausted because I don't feed off that energy of the crowd or whatever it is, unlike you, Alex. You're muted.
Right. I leave one of those events and I'm like, okay, where's next? Where's the after party? Right?
Yeah.
Because I feed off the energy. But I don't know. I know lots of people that are introverts that are successful at growing businesses and other using sales techniques, which is, I guess, this ties into the book because to sell is human, right? Like we all can do it. We all persuade. It's just extroverts are far more likely to pick a life path that has them doing this all the time. I'm an extrovert. I'm a really good computer programmer. I don't know any extroverts that have made a career of computer programming. All of us that started there moved elsewhere because we don't, it's not no matter how good we are at it, it's not fun to do for 40 hours if you're an extrovert. Whereas the introverts are like, I don't understand why you would do anything that makes you leave your house. This year was great. Why would we not just Zoom?
But I think that's an extreme. I don't think that's like normal. I think you're falling out on the periphery of that bell curve. Okay, so when I worked at Lockheed Martin as an intern, an engineering intern in like high school and college back home, the guy that I worked for said there's kind of two tracks. Right? You can become an engineer and get super, super technical as you move up through the engineering levels, or you become more of like the businessy management side. In either case, unless you were going to stay at that ground level entry of working there, you needed to be able to do the job and manage the people, regardless of whether you were going to be highly technical engineering side or you were going to get more and more into the business side. So I don't think anyone, I think just like if you're too extroverted that you cannot talk to anyone and you can't leave your house, you're not going to really do anything, period.
Right. But if you enjoy interacting with people, your career path is going to take you in the path where you interact with more people. If you don't enjoy interacting with people, you're going to, so those same skills can go into different, fields. And the unfortunate thing for introverts is so much of society is so emphasizing on this salesy, concept. And I mean, that's why are there books like this? Because half the population that's introverted gets held back because even though there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, it is disadvantageous in American business culture. If you were in Korea, it would not hold you back at all. Introverts all over the senior management team at every one of the big conglomerates, like Samsung's top people, no problem being an introvert. you're probably not rising to the top of Apple as an introvert.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a business culture, and American business culture is very gregarious, and that whole backslapping culture that's celebrated in American business culture, it's not universal. It's really just America.
Yeah.
Japanese executives do not behave this way.
Okay.
That
kind of though segues into another thing I liked in the book when he talks about like changing your a jolt of the unfamiliar, right? He says a mini jolt, sit on the opposite side of the conference table than where you normally sit. A half jolt, spend a day in a different environment than you normally do. Full jolt, travel somewhere crazy. And what I really liked about that is I've not traveled so much in such crazy places, except maybe twice, Iceland and India, right? And it was so different that it definitely like changed my perspective on the world. So I thought that was really cool. Not necessarily for sales. I'm sure it can relate somehow. We got the Weinbergs. I don't know, how much it really would affect me in sales, but I thought that was kind of a great life lesson.
Yeah, no, I've heard that before, like brush your teeth with your left hand.
Yeah.
And things like that. And, I think part of it's a little gimmicky, but sometimes it's just the action of doing it and realizing like I'm putting an effort to try to maintain my health. One of my favorite parts was this whole Bob the Builder, can we fix it kind of mentality? Because
I did like that, yeah.
But I haven't heard about it in this way. And it's so much better to do an affirmation that's a question than just, I am strong, because in your head you're like, you're saying it because you don't think you're strong. But if you ask yourself, am I strong? You think of all the times you've been strong and you're like, well, yeah, I'm strong. And so I did appreciate that he brought that up and used examples.
Yeah, I did like that as well. I think actually my favorite part, and Alex, I think you will appreciate this, is when he starts talking about how sales and theater are similar. Because I know for me as a business person, I got so much better once I got involved in theater. Like astronomically, better speaker, better able to like get across what I'm trying to get across to people. And it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, right? And how do you respond to people when you have those conversations? He has a whole thing about improvisation. So that was, I think, my favorite part of the whole book. And I think he had some books that he said recommended reading for that, and they were all theater books. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go read these. None of them are about none of it is about business. So I thought that was really cool.
Right, and it also, sorry, go on, Jordan.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, it goes back to this, selling isn't selling is persuading is something we all do. What is theater? And one of the most interesting things is with theater, it's playing the trope, right?
Yeah.
We are so ingrained with behaviors we've seen on television and movies that's how we expect people to actually operate.
Right.
So even though it's absurd, there's a certain amount of, we use this example in stage combat. If you were actually in a gunfight, you're going to hide behind a big concrete block, and you don't run in with a handgun against the guy who's firing a semi-automatic at you, because you will be dead. But if you watch any show that has FBI agents, every single FBI agent runs into the middle of the street, squares off their shoulders, and takes out the guy who's there with the semi-automatic weapon, right? And that would not be good. There's a reason you use suppression fire. Like, that would be a bad tactic, but that's what we expect, because that's how the hero runs in heroic.
Right.
Right. It's the modern version of the knight running in with a sword going after the dragon. That's probably not a way to survive the dragon. The dragon's going to fire at you, and that's the end. And now you're, dragging me. But, that is that heroic trope. So when we expect people to play the trope, and then when we break it, we get their attention. But that's where does the salesperson backslapping come from? It's not inherent. When I was in business school, our international, students were all stunned that we actually behave this way. You know, like one of the guys in my program was a German engineer, did not understand how they sat down, he got his group organized, they had the work done in like 45 minutes. And meanwhile, they're like, where are you going now? And we're like, we just kind of introduced each other. Like none of us had even started doing the work, you know, and it's not inherent, you know, it's a much more, you know, and it's the same way, like Miami's business culture is so different from the rest of this country. It's like, it really is just, what is the, you know, and it's a playing to a trope. And that's what makes it what people expect the executive to look like. They interpret you as one. All right, sorry, that was my rambling rant.
No, you just broke up a little at the end.
Yeah, you did break up, but I think we kind of get where you're going. But you know what else is interesting about that is, you know, if you go into a situation and the other person doesn't respond the way you expect, if you don't have those kind of improvisational skills, you don't really know what to do. You're like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting you to say that in response to, you know, my elevator pitch or whatever. Like, that's not what I planned out. So if you don't have that ability to say yes and keep going, and those other, you know, improvisational games and whatnot, you know, it's hard to keep proceeding with the conversation.
And I think a lot of it is confidence, you know, because I know for me, if I'm not feeling confident that day, it's going to be a bunch of stuttering, a bunch of, like, you know, and I'm just watching myself do it and it's so uncomfortable. But, you know, other days I'm on it, I'm ready to go. I can go back and forth with you. And it just depends on your confidence level, I think.
Yeah. But I think, so, okay, so there's a couple, like, kind of, what is it, like, when you, the sayings that are said all the time? Words.
Cliches?
Yeah, cliche, thank you. Say, like, fake it till you make it.
Right, yeah.
That's, I think, my favorite one, because there are many days where I'm like, I don't want to get on this sales call. I don't want to have this client meeting. I don't want to do this tax return. And I'm like, but you know what? I know what it feels like, you know, mentally, emotional state, all that kind of things when I have done it. So I'm going to fake that until I get into that headspace and that zone, and then I can proceed forward, regardless of if I feel like it or if I feel confident or whatever that day. There's that. And, well, no, that was probably the best one, the fake it till you make it. The other one I was thinking was
in front of the other.
Yeah, you just gotta you do it. There
one
was
second at a time.
There's some like viral TED talk. I don't remember what the lady's name is. She's some researcher that talked about like how physiology can change like your mentality. And she has this thing about where you like put your arms up in a V and you do like these different power poses.
Power stances.
Yeah, and it's supposed to literally like change your brain chemistry. There have been things that I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go do this. I'm terrified. And I will like get out of my car, stand there with my arms up like an idiot, like, all right, but this is going to work. And it does help. You know, I don't know if it's just, it makes that connection in your brain. Like, well, if I keep doing this particular motion, I'll have that physical, mental connection and it just works. Or, you know, if, you know, maybe her research was right. I don't know.
It's funny, you know, I went to the Tony Robbins seminar a few years back, and you know, the phrase you hear all the time is motion creates emotion. Motion creates emotion, and a lot of it is getting yourself into the mode and getting yourself pumped up and doing these sort of things. And if you think about it, you know, one of the things that's brought up is like tribal rituals. Like before going into battle, there's a whole, you know, tribal ritual. And you know, what's the trope of a football team doing that in a movie before and hitting each other and getting themselves kind of pumped up? Because there is a certain amount of the physicality fires off the you know, hormonal or, you know, chemical response, and that triggers a whole lot in the brain.
It's true. It's a thing. I think actually another thing that I really liked in here, and it was the very last page, you know, always ask and answer these two questions. If the person you're selling to agrees to buy, will his or her life improve? And when your interaction is over, will the world be a better place than when you began? And I think that really sets you in such a great, like, human path to try to sell, because nothing is worse than those, like, yeah, he talks about, like, used car salesman. Like, no one wants to feel like a used car salesman, right? And I'll tell clients where I'm like, you know what, I could charge you to do XYZ, but you're not going to be better off for it, so I'm not going to do it. Like, I won't even do it for you. And people are often shocked. They're like, really, you won't just take my money? I'm like, no, because it's not going to help you. Like, what do I need to take your money and not help you for? So I like that. It kind of goes back to that, like, the go-giver, right?
Yeah.
Like, being a good human, not taking advantage of people in
To
business.
give more than you get, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of all I got on this book. It wasn't terrible, but I think it's probably better for someone who's not read anything, really in business. Go read this one.
Yeah, not a good book club book. Might be a good book though.
Yeah, it wasn't a great book club book. I'm sorry, but you know what? It's got a 3.9 star rating on Goodreads, which is
why you should never believe anything on the internet.
But Goodreads, I mean, if it was Amazon, I'd be like, all right, whatever. He paid his friends to write good reviews, but it had a lot of good reviews. All right, fine. Next time we won't do it.
I wanted to make a comment on what Alex had said about the soldier. I was in a position not too long ago where I was extremely fearful, and I said to myself, you know what do soldiers do going into battle? And I equated myself to a soldier going into battle because I was really scared. It was unknown. I had no idea what was going to happen. And I felt courage and fortification, knowing that I was going to go into battle and there was going to be an outcome. And I was hoping and praying on the side of positivity, and it really worked. It worked for me. I came out on the other side more, saying, wow, this idea went into my head. And I had mentioned it to a few other people, and they said, oh, I never thought of it like that. But it really does work. And the other thing is, being a teacher for so long and standing in front of students who don't want to learn and don't want to do, and et cetera, because I taught high school. Being up there and having participated in a lot of little community plays and things, and going into actor mode really is helpful. So it's not only helpful it's helpful in everyday life. I
absolutely is.
I had an appointment recently that I was supposed to go to by myself. And I said, well, I'm going to play the drama card so I can get my husband to go with me. Damn, it worked. So I have another appointment next Wednesday. I'm going to play that same drama card again. I really did need him with me, but I'm going to play that card again. Little Miss Help Us, and boom, helps again. But it's really good, because sometimes if you put yourself into the persona of somebody else, it really helps. Like, I sing in a choir and I do not like to do solos, but I always imagine myself as somebody else doing it, and I'm able to carry it off. So,
and that's what Beyonce does too.
Yeah, well,
she's like, superstar.
Listen to Alex also, or read the book.
That's very true, because I found myself putting myself into the shoes of a different role. And maybe that's why people have the imposter syndrome, because they've become successful in this role, right? And then they're at home with whoever that they're comfortable with, and they're like, that's not me. But the whole world's like, that person's amazing. And you're like, but that's a card. That's an actress. That's an actor. Like, that's not me. So I don't know. That's interesting to look at it that way.
But you know what's funny about that is, like, because we talk about this in our acting group, it might not be you, but some elements of that are somewhere within you.
Yes, that's what
otherwise you wouldn't be able to pull it out to present it.
Right. Yeah. Because you are
if you finally stop doing it and you discover that you miss it, then you really know it is really part of you.
Now what I found when I used to do full contact fighting before the match, I'd be punching myself in the face with my, just to, punching myself. And when I get in the ring, I start growling, and that kind of like put me into another dimension, to the point where I was able to like actually walk into a barrage of punches and land what I wanted to land, and then just back out again. And I think, unfortunately, I think I taught that to our little granddaughter Leah. She growled.
When they're young.
Yeah, I think
Well,
a lot of kids
I
do
think it's
dance
all
like
kind
that.
of that same thing of how is what you're trying to convey, selling it to someone else. In fact, we even say that in stage combat. We're like, you have to sell it, right? You have to make that punch look like it's real. And it's not just the person throwing, it's the person receiving. We're like, oh, they're selling. So it's not that crazy of a comparison.
Mhm.
Or concept. Yeah.
Anyone? Anything else? Good, bad, different? No? All right. Well, next month we have a slightly different kind of book. Hopefully this one will be better, Alex. It's higher rated on Goodreads. It's a 4.12 instead of a 3 point whatever, even though it could be manipulated, and it's even with less reviews, so who knows. It is called Barking Up the Wrong Tree: The Surprising Science Behind Why Everything You Know About Success Is Mostly Wrong, by Eric Barker.
Every one of these business books has the same gist. It's like, everything you know is wrong. Let me teach you the new truth.
Let me teach you the new
Let
thing.
me
It's
repeat
actually the same.
Right.
And it's like, wait, I've read one of these before. What is what they said wrong too?
Well, hopefully, I don't know. Well,
I'm
it's
sure
sure
it'll be
about
great.
science, so I'm hoping it's
I'm
a
always
bit more.
learning. I'm 23, so I'm always learning, but
This is like the best business school you'll have, is being forced to read all these books. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. And if no one has anything else to contribute, I think we're done.
all right.
Going once, going twice, sold. All right, see you next month.
Bye.
Bye-bye.